So I think we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Denise Gazzetta. I'm the Vice President of Talent and Workforce for the Sioux Falls Development Foundation. This is our third annual Talent Draft Day 2021. This is a hybrid event, so we are going live on Handshake right now and YouTube and also Facebook. So I want to welcome our great panel. We have hand-selected, really, with the benefit of all of our students, key employers where we know that there's a lot of interest in internships and employment. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and ask everybody to introduce themselves and open up this conversation.
My name is Lindsey Wagoner, and I work for FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and I've been working for them for the last 7 years in Colorado and South Dakota.
My name is Erin Engelkiss. I'm a senior tax associate at Eide Bailey in the Sioux Falls office, and I've been there about 3.5 years.
My name is Jenny Reese, and I work at Premier Bank Card, and I have been there for about 1.5 years now in their HR department.
And this is Jenny's second year with us, too.
I'm Sarah Simmons-Ma. I'm here on behalf of Avera Health, and I've been with them for 16 years, actually just last week. So I work in the HR department in the workforce planning and career development.
My name's Ty Vong. I work for Sanford Health, so I'm representing Sanford Health here. I work as a talent advisor in HR. I've been there for about 6 months, so this should be fun.
My name is Jessica Wheeler. I am with Furniture Mart USA here in Sioux Falls. I've been there since about January, and I'm one of their recruiters.
Hi, I'm Wendy Alexander. I am from Poet here in Sioux Falls. We're headquartered here. I've been there about 1 year, and we have 33 locations around the Midwest.
Good afternoon. I'm Nidra Larson. I work at Omnitech, and Omnitech has a location in Sioux Falls and in Rapid City. I do recruitment, and I've been with Omnitech for 17 years.
So we wanted to start out this conversation. I just want to thank you guys for lending your time and your talent. In the Sioux Falls region, we have such a need for skilled and really all of these qualified employees. We're looking today at a lot of the colleges. We do have 252 colleges that are participating. So I'm going to start out by asking just a few questions, and I thought maybe I would do a little bit of an icebreaker. I would ask you about your own personal journey and how you ended up in the role that you have today.
I started out in graphic arts, and so I think my graphic arts background ties into being creative in recruitment space. So right now we have a graphic artist that works at Omnitech that helps our client work, but then she's almost like our in-house agency. So I work closely with her on presentations and social media posts and things like that. So it definitely it has a sales piece to it, which I've done that in the past, so it's kind of all-encompassing.
Hi, so I started out really in the customer service world when I was younger and moved into human resources sort of by accident. I just love helping people, so I've done all parts of HR, but really figured out with a great mentor and manager that I was more interested in recruitment, training, employee relations, those sort of things. So now I am a talent scout, and I just love recruitment, and I love helping people connect to other people, opportunities, and training and doing anything I can to make them happier.
I can basically mimic kind of what Wendy said. I started as a receptionist maybe 10 years ago, and the employer just kept giving me more and more responsibilities and more HR responsibilities, and I really found the path that I wanted to go on to. So I'm always grateful to that employer for giving me those opportunities. I've just always known I want to help people. I thought it was maybe nonprofit at first, but then I got into the HR world, and helping people find that perfect job, that career, it's such a good feeling. Know that we're giving them that path for the rest of their life.
Okay, you saw this coming, right? Because I'm going to get spooled up.
We have been prepared.
All right. So my humble beginnings in food service, I started to work in food service work, decided that I wanted to study medical. I was following my brother, weirdly enough, and he was going to be a doctor. So I went into the medical world. I was a CNA, I was an EMT, I worked, again, food service there. Worked in food and nutrition services at Avera, weirdly enough. So I worked there for a little bit in my teen years. Then went to college, tried to join the military, was medically disqualified for that, so I did basic training, tried to join the Army, that fell through. I worked in a call center, Telecare, down in Vermilion for a little while. I worked at the food service some more because that's where I had all my teenage experience. Then I ended up going to part-time college, working full-time. I worked as an electrician for a couple of years, an apprentice electrician, which learning a skill and a trade, super awesome experience to have. Because people still call me and they're like, Ty, I took my fan down the other day and I don't know which wire goes to which. And I'm like, yeah, I'm happy to help you. So I did an electrician for a couple of years. Then I got a job at Wells Fargo in the call center doing customer service. Got a promotion there, ended up in the sales department there, and I know Wells Fargo had some sales stuff going on, and I'm not going to go down that route, but I ended up getting a promotion as an operations analyst there. So I went into operations, worked with Excel spreadsheets, helped hiring managers make hiring decisions, kind of all those deals, and I was part of the leadership team there. And actually at that point is when I started realizing I really like helping people find their path in life, because mine's been all over the board. So I'm trying to figure out, hey, how can I help the next generation figure out their stuff? I decided to go back to school, get my degree in human factors psychology, which is not clinical psychology. It's like how people interact with objects. You probably know what human factors is at Omnitech. A little bit. It's like user experience and human experience and stuff. So I got my degree in that, or I worked on my degree in that. While getting my degree in that, I became a motorcycle safety instructor. So I teach motorcycle safety for the state of South Dakota. I adjunct instruct Psych 101 courses for the University of South Dakota and for Southeast Tech. I teach applied psychology for the University of South Dakota. And then after I graduated, I was in the job market, where I actually met Wendy, weirdly enough, in the job market, and applied for various jobs at probably every place that people are sitting up here right now. So applied for various jobs there. Ended up leveraging some connections that I had built in college, so some of the real-world experiences I had, to get connected with folks at Sanford. Applied, got an interview at Sanford, and ended up working in talent and recruitment as a talent advisor. And I really enjoy it because, again, my journey has been all over the board, so it's really fun to help give people like, hey, here's kind of what helped me be successful. Here's my failures. Maybe you can learn from my mistakes. Maybe you can learn from my experiences to help you out. And this is ultimately where I am now.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Well, mine's not quite as long, but it's still unconventional in some ways. I actually started in radiology school right outside of high school and at Avera McKinnon in Sioux Falls. And I was a radiologic technologist, so very clinical background for about 6 years, and then I became an educator for the radiology program, and I taught that program for 8 years. And so I have that education piece, and then now I've made it kind of full circle into that HR realm. So though I don't recruit and I don't source, I help with the career planning service that Avera offers, and we help people find those, what we've kind of been talking about, help you find your dream job or help you with resources kind of on your pathway. So we do a lot of outreach with colleges and high schools and things like that too, but same thing. I love it's kind of a great combination of all of those passions of helping others and helping people find that path as they move forward.
Yeah, mine's not near as long either. I was an intern in the HR department kind of by accident as well. I wasn't really planning on going into HR, but here I am 6 years later or something like that, and really enjoy connecting with people. A lot of times you work with them so often before they even start employment, so you have a great rapport with them before they even walk through the door, which I really do like. And yeah, here I am, HR.
So I am from small town South Dakota that has, just your basic classes, but I decided out of high school that I would go to school for accounting. So I went to USD and I graduated with my master's, and during that time I did 4 internships in the accounting profession, 2 private accounting and then 2 public accounting. And the internship at Eide Bailey just really taught me a lot, and so then the next year after I graduated, I started full-time there, and I've been there ever since.
I actually didn't mean to work for FCA. I was volunteering while I was getting my master's. My master's is in counseling, and I was volunteering once a week at a local high school in Colorado Springs, and they would meet in their FCA in the chemistry room, And I would go there at 6:30 in the morning, and that's what I would do, is help student athletes understand their relationship with Jesus. And so I was just a volunteer, but I got challenged one day as I got a flat tire by a staff that picked me up and challenged me to come on staff, just because it partners my love for sport, because I was a collegiate athlete, with my love for the Lord.
And I love all of your experiences, because one of the things I'm hearing from each and every one of you is that there's a lot of progression within your own businesses, the companies, and that's great, because that's exactly, as we all know, when people choose an employer, they're going in for a lot of different reasons, but culture a lot of time drives. You find that you have a shared mission and a shared passion. So let me ask you, go a little bit deeper. What was one of the things when you were making that first decision, or maybe that second decision, about working for your employer that really was important to you? Something that really you said, this is really a game changer for me.
Yeah, it's funny, you hear all these different experiences. One of my favorite quotes is, "Life is lived forwards, but understood backwards." So you can see from our panel here that not everyone had a straight path into their career. And that was kind of like mine. I got out and I started teaching, and then I got into my master's, which ultimately led me to the ministry route. And the thing that made it just deeper for me is I got to sit with student athletes one-on-one, but we also did events, and then we also did small groups. So that took my teaching career, that also took my counseling career, and then it took my love for the Bible, and it kind of put them all together. So as I got into FCA more and more, I could see how every step of the way really made sense. And then when I got into career with FCA, it just clicked for me. So you'll have a lot of different experiences that leads you towards your career.
So there's a lot of things that I like about Eide Bailly and my job, but I think the big thing that Eide Bailly stresses is the culture. And I think it's important to enjoy your coworkers. You know, we go and do things together outside of work, which is really fun. And so I just like having friends that are also coworkers.
And I'm going to follow up to that real quick, because you mentioned that. So how do you make sure when you have a company that has a lot of different generations? What's your advice to people that are coming in? Because accounting, traditionally, people stay in those roles and they progress within the same organization. So as a second question, how would you suggest to somebody that when they're coming in, it's their first career or maybe their first internships, and they're working with a lot of different people? What's your advice?
My advice is just to ask a lot of questions. We kind of throw a lot at you right away, and then you're just kind of baptized by fire, and you learn. But you're going in with other people too. You know, you're not the new intern by yourself. You're not the new hire by yourself most of the time. So just asking those questions, making the connections, because we've all been in that spot before, and we've all been, you know, we didn't know the answer to something, but there's always someone there that can help you.
Thank you.
Do you want me to answer that too, or just go on back on?
Well, you know, I do kind of want to hear your story because it's interesting. And I do know a little bit about your employer. We do a lot of engagement, you know, as with most of the employers up here. And so culture, I know, is a big driver, but I'm interested in what else was there other than culture?
I've always worked for big organizations, and so that was something that drove me to Premier in general, was they have a good culture within such a large organization, and it starts from the top. And so you can see that they all follow what we call the Premier Way, and so that is kind of ingrained in our minds. And so we have things all over that specify what the Premier Way is, and we live by that as employees and representatives of Premier. So that was the biggest drive for me. And really the HR department, you know, like Erin said, you want your coworkers to be your friends too at the same time, and we do have a really good department. And so that also, I could see that during the interview process, that the company was very strong and the department was very strong. And I think that's important as well, to come into an organization knowing that you're coming into a good environment.
Absolutely, and it makes it fun because one of the things we have in common is First Premier is part of the Career Connections program, which is something that we talk a lot about. It's a program for high school juniors and seniors, but it really gets them immersed and really it kind of helps to find that path forward. And one of the things that's always so, I think, impressive to people, as is Bailey with the culture, is that you guys really enjoy working with each other. The leadership is really engaged, and they're fun. And people don't necessarily think that financial services can be like that, so.
Awesome. Well, I was actually born at Avera, so I started out really, really early. But for us, for me personally too, it's the mission of Avera. So we are a healthcare mission. We're a Christian-based organization, and we were founded by the Presentation and Benedictine sisters. And really our main focus is that quality care, compassionate care, and providing those services really close to home. So we are in 5 states. We have 300 locations within 100 different communities. But the big piece is keeping that care so people don't have to travel a long ways. You don't have to go to Mayo Clinic for care. We've got those things here. So that quality patient care and really having the patients at the end result and knowing that that's what we're here for, I think just drives that mission home and makes it where it's somewhere you want to be. And same thing, you know, having kind of that, it's a large organization. I think we have over 18,000 employees, but you still have that family feel, that connection with coworkers, that engagement piece. So that's definitely what's kept me there for as long as I've been there.
I don't really know how to follow that up because like everything you said is really like Sanford's really similar in that sense, right? We have a lot of the healthcare organization to focus on that. So I'm actually just going to share my story because as you probably heard earlier, I went all over the board with what I was going to do. And I got to swim around in the world of like, okay, where do I want to end up working and what aspects of the culture do I want to be a part of? And I ended up choosing the healthcare industry because I want to be a part of the culture that, hey, we want to help people. We want to be there to take care of folks. And that's, you know, Sanford and Avera, there's a lot of shared kind of, we're in this together, we're in this healthcare world together. Hence to the unity you and I got going on here, right? So partnership. But for me, what ended up tipping my scales is I was applying for jobs, and as I was looking for various jobs with Sanford, I asked my brother, who works for Sanford as well. So he's a doctor with Sanford, and I straight up asked him. I said, "Tell me a little bit about the culture there. What convinces you that Sanford's a good place to work? Because you're in a different realm than I will ever be. You are at a different level that I'm ever going to be, and you're going to meet some people that some big decision makers that I'll probably never meet in my life. So tell me a little bit about that." And he's like, "Well, I'll tell you a story, and this is kind of what helped me." So I said, "Okay, fire away." And he's like, "Well, I had to order this brain scan machine." All right, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know the names of the machines. Okay, I have to order this brain scan machine. It's the newest technology. I went to residency, I went to school to work with this machine, right? And the machine we have, it works, it's great, it's fantastic. We just, this is the next level. This is the next level of care, and we want to advocate for that higher level of care, the most advanced things on the market. We want to make sure we're taking care of people in the best way we can. So I was like, okay. And he says, so I had to go and have a talk with the financial people, right? The ones that have the budget and sign the paychecks, which is above all of our pay grades, I'm sure, right? But he had to go have one of those conversations. And so I was like, I got my slideshow ready. I got my budget stuff. I crunched the numbers. He's like, I'm ready to have this presentation. And he goes in expecting this like grill session of where they're just gonna try to burn him every step of the way. And he says, well, it didn't really go like that because the gal in charge just looked at me and said, is this the best machine out there? Is this the thing that's going to give the best care? And he's like, yeah, it is. I trained on it. This is the thing. Like, I've done the research. Trust me, I'm a doctor, right? Like, everything he could do. And she's like, well, she said, and this is what my brother said, she said, so this is secondhand, but she said that if my son needed some cancer treatment and I wanted to bring him and have him taken care of, would I want this machine? And he said yes. And she's like, then let's do it. And he said that she looked over at somebody else, one of her assistants or somebody else in the department, and was like, figure it out. Essentially, let's make this work. And that spoke to me about the culture of the company is that at the end of the day, right, we are putting the treatment of people, the treatment of patients, the treatment of others above kind of that financial bottom line. And so that really spoke to me because I was like, I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of that kind of culture. And that's why I applied for jobs at Sanford specifically.
And that's one of the things one of the themes I'm hearing from everyone is a lot of opportunity. It was culture, but then it was these other tangible things like leadership, and that engagement, which we know with Generation Z, that's very important to them. They want to be working directly with people. They want to work on interesting projects. We hear that all the time from our friends out at the South Dakota School of Mines. So yes, absolutely. Thank you, Jessica. Sorry.
No, it's okay. As I stated, I've been with Furniture Mart for about 10 months now, and I knew when I was going to my next company from my last company, I knew I needed to go to a forward-moving company. My last company, it was newer, so they were still growing. I had great experiences there, but I knew my next job, I just needed to keep moving forward. And that's where I found Furniture Mart, and I found the growth that they're having, and I just knew that I would still have more experiences for myself to gain, and of course, still help the employees as well. I mean, the company is over 40 years old, and we're still opening new stores and expanding distribution centers. And so I just see a great future ahead. We hire a variety of positions too, sales associates, IT, warehouse workers, and I needed that variety in my life too. I needed to know that I'm hiring for different types of career paths for people. I wanted to make sure I was attracting, different demographics for people to hire. So I just knew I needed to go to a forward-moving company, and I'm definitely there, and I'm so excited to see, where the company is going. So that's my advice, is just know what you want for your future as well as the company's future too.
Well, the reason I joined Poet is because it's one of the companies around here that's really about changing the world. So we talk about that a lot. When I'm visiting with candidates, it's really about making a difference in the world. So my advice to most companies is make sure you have great pay and great benefits. Those are always important, of course. However, the deal breaker for most people will be poor leadership and poor culture. You will stay in a job you maybe don't like. Maybe there's some bullet points that you don't necessarily love. Usually if you have a good leader, you can work with them to adjust those a bit. But if you do not have a good culture or good leaders, you usually won't make it through. And being in HR for this many years, most of the counseling I've done with people, whether it's at work, employees, managers, leaders, or friends, family, peers, it's been about that fit with leaders. When I was interviewing at Poet, my final step was visiting with the president. And I cannot tell you how impressed I was. We had a 90-minute conversation. It went a little long because we were just having a great time. I always say, surround yourself with people that get it. He gets it. He is about servant leadership. And there's so many people that I work with that are about that. My leader that I report directly to gets it. She's an old soul. She understands different personalities and that you have to adjust. So that's very, very important. Do your research when you're looking to join a company, because guess what? It's all sort of a sales situation when you're interviewing. So you're selling yourself, they're selling themselves. Make sure you talk to people and do your research. There's so many ways to do that.
And I'm going to ask a follow-up question because, as we talk about people coming into different types of roles as an intern and then maybe as an employee and then sort of progressing, what advice, Wendy, because you just talked about, sort of the process of being onboarded, but what advice would you give somebody when they are coming in to maybe a very technical company like Poet, where you have a lot of mathematicians and chemists, but you have a need for so many other people like engineers that are maybe going to go into sales, right? A little bit of different personality. So what's your advice for somebody coming in when you know that you're coming into a particular culture, but you really have to be open to really representing both sides, right? So how does that work?
Right. So here's the deal. I've worked for a lot of different industries, and I think about these things a lot because I'm a certified DISC trainer and coach. So I'm constantly trying to get people into the right roles based on their strengths. Because, yep, I can go be an accountant, but that doesn't mean I'm going to thrive. And so if you can get them into the right environment and roles, they're going to go to town, and it's going to make them happy. The team's going to be happy, and that sort of thing. So number one, I would tell, especially students, start understanding what your strengths are. I went to school for pharmacy, hilarious. Bad idea. You know, and so if I would have had somebody helping me, that would have been great, because then you know what culture you should get into and what sort of career path. Because, where I work, there's a ton of engineers, scientists, and that's a different culture, of course, but people are people, and they like to connect in different ways and that sort of thing. So I would just tell somebody that there's a lot of different areas, that you can go into, but maybe you're just interested in that industry. So like, a hospital environment, you can be the marketing person if that's what you're good at. Just a lot of different options, and the sky's really the limit.
Thank you. I do want to hear sort of your story, because I know a little bit about it, but.
Sure. At Omnitech, before I started there, I was at the Argus Leader, had a coworker who knew the owner of Omnitech. So it was a networking thing, just a person connecting me with one of the owners. And had some hesitation going from a large organization to a small organization. Are the benefits better and such? You know, those are adulting things that you think about, but where folks are, the group that we're talking about here today, yes, those come down the path in life. But just this morning, I did a Teams interview with a student, and one of the questions I asked him, what does he, want in a future employer? Because at Omnitech, we look to bring on interns in hopes that they become full-time employees. And he paused, and it's great. He knows what he wants already. And I think he felt valued and appreciated that he was asked that question. And like Wendy said, it's a two-way street. It's not just them interviewing you, it's both ways. Right. And at Omnitech, I'm lucky that I have the support of a lot of people that are technical in the engineering space, because that's the majority of my interviews are engineers. So I can talk about the culture, and then as they go through the interview process, they hear those nuggets over and over, but then they go down that rabbit hole of tech conversation. So we have them meet, up to 8 to 10 people. So they really do know on their first day what they're walking into. The fun thing about my job, working there for 17 years and being on a panel like this and seeing large organizations with intern and onboarding full-time folks, is Omnitech's really doing good things. We've evolved, and it's been nice to have that community to learn from and bring those pieces back to our office.
And your leadership is so approachable. We've interviewed some of your leaders on our Talent Thursday, which we're going to have a little bit earlier today, but we've seen sort of the different sides, and I can see where that comes out. But you do have a pretty rigorous interview process, and that's good, because I think the advice for any potential employee out there is use this as an opportunity for you to decide, how you feel when you're sitting across from somebody. I do think that your interviews should always be very inclusive of everyone that's going to be interacting, so that you can really have that chemistry. I came from a chemical company, so we used to always say, we create chemistry, but really that's what you're doing. You're synthesizing so that you can build upon all of the wonderful things that you have to achieve, right? So I'm going to switch gears a little bit. Yes, Ty. Yes, absolutely.
Just going to jump in out of turn. I'm sorry. I really want to just add this in, because I feel like it's a part of what we're talking about, and taking that time to understand yourself, right? And that self-reflection, that self-understanding. Because when you're going to go into that interview situation, right, you got to know, hey, what is it that I'm bringing to the table, and what is it at the same time that I want? And if you don't know what those things are, then you're going to be more apt to basically, and bullied isn't the right word, but it's just like you're going to be more apt to maybe take something that might not be the best fit for you. I think it's going to be there we go. That's the word we're looking for. And I know that with Think 3D, I saw that I'm up there, right, you know, as one of the sponsors for this deal. Think 3D does a lot of good work with the culture and understanding, and you know, you and I have both done the Leadership 101 stuff with them. I just wanted to like add just a little bit of, you know, taking that time to self-reflect, taking that time to understand yourself, because you need to do research about the company and be able to understand the company and their culture so that way it matches. But that you can't do that unless you do a little bit of that self-reflection and self-understanding. So then you know what you value and what's important to you. And at the same time, don't shoehorn yourself to think that like, hey, I have to make this decision about life and this goal about my life and this value about my life and this is how it's going to be forever, because it's going to change, and I'm a great example of that.
And so this is an amazing kind of thing that's coming along. We're all sitting here and we're benefiting from the fact that we're seeing more and more online stuff, right? That's what we're doing here today. Part of that is you can also create those, profiles so that you can attract more people. Because sometimes I think people just need to understand what they could be. And so, that's why a lot of our programming, and even why we're here today, is we're taking interest. We have kids that are logging on. They're interested in all types of internships, from healthcare to services, social services, to accounting and business and finance, right? And to technology, and particularly biofuels and all of those great sustainable things. And retail. I started on retail, and retail is fun. Okay, and then technology. So switching gears a little bit, I'd like to know, and we don't have to go in order here, so we're just having a little conversation just amongst friends. Tell me about the employment opportunities that you have right now. Tell me about the internships that you're looking. Tell me about that process, because we really do have a lot of kids that are focused in on really talking in more detail to you about what their future could be like. So
I will start. Omnitech has started the career fair journey. And so we were out west last week, and so we'll continue to go to those career fairs. As I tell students, the process isn't quick for us. We get up over 100 probably resumes to go through, and we make sure that we do our due diligence. And again, like noted earlier, we're bringing on future employees. So what I will say to a freshman in college, as I've noted to some students that came to my booth 2 weeks ago, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're networking. I'm glad you started your resume, because I can tell you we have probably a handful of engineers at Omnitech that were freshmen. We don't do the internship until after their sophomore year just because of coursework, but it's fun to follow the journey. How are those first classes going, and connecting with them? And I can't help it, but if I know someone else that maybe would be a better fit for them, because I have one student, she's trying to decide between computer engineering or electrical. Well, if she goes electrical, that's not in our wheelhouse. So I definitely want to help people connect with others. So my advice is start your resume, get involved on campus, and also attend those career fairs. 4 years goes by fast.
it does.
So at Poet, we have a lot of different full-time openings. We're really one of those employers that say they promote from within, and we do it. So that creates a lot of openings for people to hop in. However, we also have a lot of internships. This year, right now, we're at 32. We will probably end up around 50. When I came to Poet last year, I was so impressed with the way they run their internship program. We're basically planning this all year. My coworker is amazing at doing that, and I get to help with that. But we do a lot of programming for them. So not only do they get to come and get that real life experience with their different bioprocessing center or the department they get to go into, they get that day to day. They get to do 1 or 2 projects they get to see through during the summer. And then we do a lot of different things. I do a LinkedIn training for them to teach them and get that part done. I do a disc training, and then we have other people come in and do other trainings while they're there. We do networking events. So it's a really great experience. As always, we do go to career fairs. That's sometimes getting less and less because let's be real, here we have phones and we can apply online. But still, if you have a career fair you can attend, go do that. One thing I've been working with a lot of interns and students on is get your resume done, but do it from your LinkedIn. A resume will not allow you to be found. If you have a LinkedIn profile, you can be found. You can pull your resume from the LinkedIn, so you're kind of taking care of 2 birds with 1 stone. Don't get me started, I could go on forever about that. But I give out free advice about that. I have trainings and I have tip sheets, so I've been meeting with interns about that. But do that and definitely network. Network online on LinkedIn and network with people, because there's people like us that we live to help you. So even if we don't have something open for you at our companies, we know a lot of people and we're happy to pass you along to each other.
With Furniture Mart USA, we have a complete variety of jobs that we hire for. And I am a big believer, firm believer, that every job in the company is vital. I mean, from our warehouse employees that put our furniture together, to our marketing team, to our store managers, every single position in any company is so vital. And I just need people to remember that, because if you think you're getting hired into a job or into a company and you're like, oh, I'm kind of starting at the bottom here, that's okay. It's okay, especially if that's the company you love, if that's the industry that you love, the position that you love doing, do what you love. And you never know where it will take you. If you're passionate about what you're doing, and again, the industry that you're in, you know, put in the work and it will get noticed. You know, like I said, we have the warehouse employees, which is super important to our company. So don't be afraid to just walk into a retail environment or a company's front doors and just say, hey, I might be interested in working here. Do you guys have anything open, or can I leave my resume with your HR department? I know it sounds kind of old school versus the LinkedIn route, but it still works. I promise you, it still works. So just don't be afraid to put yourself out there.
And I love that. And one of the things that we're seeing, there's a lot of, and we're going to be talking about this at Win in Workforce, which is our summit. It's also going to be our 3rd year that we're going to be doing this. But one of the key themes there is how some industries are really changing. And so the investment in all of your employees, even the employees that are coming on board, is just going to continue. And retail in particular is going to be a big change because of using AI for a lot of the things from supply chain management to customer service. So very, very cool things happening.
AI is super cool. Human factors stuff, super nerdy. Anyway, so just a reminder. So this is for like a bunch of colleges out there, right? College students.
We have colleges from 250 to, so all throughout the Midwest, and then we have all throughout the East Coast where I'm from, and then throughout the South and West. So.
Cool. Okay. The reason I ask is because I'm imagining myself when I was in college, and if somebody was like, hey, Ty, you should do an unpaid internship or an internship, I would ask myself, like, why? Because I could go out and get a paying job and get some of that experience. But I think what some of these ladies are already going to have covered, and what I'm sure the rest of you will cover as well, especially you that came from a lot of internships down there, right, is that internships are less about less about the pay, right, and more about the experience. How much would you pay for an experience? I pay $18 for the experience of sitting in a movie theater to watch a movie that I could wait at home and watch, a couple months later, right? So you're getting that step ahead, and you're getting that experience of being involved in the company and in the work. At the same time, you're getting those network and those connections, and you may not be getting the hourly rate per se, but in some ways, right, you're getting a lot more out of it. And so I just want to make the plug just for internships in general. For those of you students out there that are like, why would I get an internship? And why not just get a part-time job so I can make some more cash moolah? And I get that. The other thing I want to say is, and I'm gonna, since I'm first now, the healthcare industry and Sanford, right? We have all sorts of different internships in various different areas. I mean, it's a major healthcare provider in the area, and we have a footprint all across the nation. They merged with the Good Samaritan Society, and that's got a nationwide footprint as well as an international footprint with Sanford. So there's a lot of opportunity to get involved. The internships, from my understandings, there's all sorts of opportunities, not only in the technical fields, in the HR fields, in the nursing fields, the clinical practitioner fields, all that kind of stuff. So really, it's about looking for it and finding it. The tips to you at home that are thinking about an internship with Sanford, just look up a sourcer. They're called sourcers, is the name of the title, and that's their position at Sanford Health, and their job is to basically go out and find people to plug into various positions and roles. So LinkedIn, sourcers, figure that out, and then connect with them, because you got to make those connections and talk to those people and just experience, because you're in a great time right now in college that most of your stuff is paid for, and if you're paying for it by yourself, congratulations to you. If you've got the student loans, then you're kind of paying it for by yourself. You'll deal with that later. So take advantage of the time you have now to garnish those experiences, network and meet those people, because you have that time now, and this is that opportunity for you that you can use later down the road. So that's my 2 cents.
Perfect. Yeah, I would echo what you said as far as, when you think of healthcare, sometimes you think, oh, it's just nurses and doctors, but we have a variety of internships, IT, accounting, finance, all of those different things, business side of it as well. The other thing I would echo as far as like the employment piece, because sometimes people will wait until they graduate to start working in a profession or to even start getting exposure in a profession. So I would say if you're working right now while you're going to school, does it match what your future goals are a little bit? There's tons of PRN, which we call like as needed or part-time roles that you can be doing now while you're in school, and start building that and start that connection piece. Like we talked about a lot of our stories, and there were people along the way that we met that served us well or, connected us to another opportunity. So doing some of that, building that resume up, you can make your resume as beautiful as you want it to be, but if there's no bulk to it, then that makes it a little bit harder when you're competing for a position. So volunteering is another really great opportunity out there. Sometimes people are in college and like, I've got a really busy schedule, I can't commit to a job. Well, volunteer in those organizations that you're interested in if they have those opportunities. And again, build that up. And then those internships, like we talked about, are huge too. They often, if they go well, they often lead to employment. The other thing I would just say is that every day is an interview, and I know that's super cliche, but it is.
So true.
It's so true, and you can hear it 100 times, and it will be okay for you to hear it that many times. But, those internships can make or break you. When you are in those environments, treat it like an interview, and so that you are offered a position there eventually. And even if it is just something like a job shadow, treat it like an interview. They may remember you. They likely will remember when you end up applying for a job there. So the opportunities are really endless. The one thing I would say is that Avera offers a career planning service where we meet one-on-one with individuals, because it is so unique, and all of those schools out there and all of those majors are so different. So we can meet with you one-on-one and say, here are some examples of some jobs that would work while you're in school versus some that maybe when you are looking into that full-time employment field as well.
Great advice. Great advice.
So as I said earlier, I work for Premier, and what's unique about our organization is we have 2 different companies. So we have Premier Bank Card, which is where I work on, and that's the credit card side. So we have a call center in 4 different areas within South Dakota. And then we have our banking side of it, so First Premier Bank, which has 17 banking facilities within South Dakota as well. So we have the 2 different financial services that we do offer there, which also leads to a ton of different opportunities within our organization. We have We had 38 or so interns last year. We have a very good intern program that we do like to hire on full-time after that. So we have hired several from this past intern year as full-time employees, which is super exciting to see. It's also exciting to see them come back for multiple internships each year. So that is one thing that I will stress is it's never too early to start an internship either. It definitely builds that resume, and as you do apply for internships, there's a lot of applicants that are also applying, so you need to stand out your resume and your application, and having all those things on there does help you and benefit you.
And stand out with things of substance, even if you don't realize. I mean, what we were talking about today is a lot of experience people forget that they have, or they don't think it's important. So don't underestimate the power of what you're learning, you know, either in high school or community college or tech school, all of these projects that you're involved in, because the employers are looking and they're paying attention.
And then one thing I will say, so with the bank, we have a part-time student teller opportunity, so you can work 20 hours or less, and you can actually receive $1,000 for your semester for tuition each year. So that is something that we do offer as well. So we partner with those students to get their foot in the door early as well.
So one of the things I want to mention is, as you talk about, and we're going to get to Aaron and then also to Lindsey, because we are now getting the 3-minute warning here, but you talk about banks and you talk about how do you really learn, and each one of you have identified the technicians, right? The different sides. Sometimes when you're in those positions, you learn so much about the company. Tellers are great opportunities to understand how financial services work. And so I'd encourage people, you know, you're looking for good jobs with good benefits. You're also looking for a lot of flexibility. That's a great fit, okay? So, Aaron.
So Eide-Bailly has offices from North Dakota down to Texas and all the way to the West Coast. So if you are interested in opportunities at Eide-Bailly, I would consider looking at offices that are, you know, in a location that you would like to be at. But we offer paid internships, especially during busy season, I would recommend, from January to April, just because you get the full experience and there's, you know, plenty of work to be done. We're always looking for more interns at that time. But if you are a college student that will be graduating soon, we do have a lot of employment opportunities to be a new hire and start full-time. One thing I will say is whenever we were working on difficult things in my accounting classes in college, my professors would always say job security. So there's always openings in accounting.
And I know your dean very well, the dean of Dean Vinke from the Beacon Business School. So he says that all the time. I love that.
Fellowship of Christian Athletes is in every state in the United States, as well as 65 different countries. So if you would just Google FCA and then either where you're going to college or your hometown, you can reach out to a staff person to find their internships. The one that I know of specifically, Denver and Atlanta. You don't have to live there. You can apply. And then I would say, too, FCA staff will hire you while you're still in college if you want to do middle school and high school, as well as social media. Most of our staff isn't good at social media, so we'll hire you part-time while you're still in school to run our social media.
And so thank you. I just want to thank our wonderful panel. Really, you guys were hand-selected for a lot of different reasons. Your organizations are wonderful. You have great partnerships with the University of Sioux Falls, and you do such amazing things for our community. So thank you, Lindsey. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Ty. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Wendy. And thank you, Nidra. I also just want to give a shout-out to the University of Sioux Falls. All of this is really made possible because they really have opened up their home, and they've done just an amazing job. And we have had such a really great day. So we're going to be logging on pretty soon with Think 3D to kind of close things down. But thank you guys.